Vulnerability. What people believe is a weakness. It is not. Nowadays, people consider those who try to show their vulnerability sensitive or call them crybabies. It is okay to be vulnerable. Like Leonard Cohen said, quote, "There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." Unquote. So since childhood, when we were kids, whenever we shed a tear or cried, the first thing we got was, "Don't cry, you're brave." We grew up hearing that brave kids don't cry. That's where it all started. Instead, by gathering the courage to let out our emotions in front of someone is what is brave. We believe that we don't want to be vulnerable, as it means we're uncertain, we're exposed, we're afraid, or we're scared. No, we've made ourselves so-called strong. We've protected ourselves in shells from being hurt, from being vulnerable, and disallowed the surrender. In response to dealing with vulnerability, we try to numb it. We just want to be happy, feel the good and positive emotions, and not the bad ones. But here's the problem. We cannot selectively numb emotions. If we numb the bad ones, we numb the good ones. And then we're vulnerable again. Did you know, of all of the thousands of thoughts we have per day, 80% are negative? So, a simple activity we could do is jot down our negative thoughts and then to each negative thought, write a positive thought. Now, you'll see a problem here. You'll see that happiness can't come without sadness. You'll see if you wouldn't have ever been betrayed, you wouldn't have learned to value trust. The same way, if it weren't for vulnerability, we wouldn't have known of valor or courage. By numbing or shutting down on our vulnerability, we are shielded from hurt, yes, but we're also guarded from love, warmth, intimacy, and connection. All of these come to us through the same door. When we close the door to one, we close it to all. Dr. Brené Brown said, quote, "Vulnerability is the center of difficult emotions, but it is also the birthplace of love, joy, empathy, courage, and belongingness." Unquote. Vulnerability leads to safety. The caves gave way to a cluster of thatched homes, which later transformed into concrete structures. Vulnerability increases our ability to think and is better than ignorance. An ignorant person walks on the fire that engulfs him, whereas a vulnerable person sniffs at the fire and creates a diversing path for himself. Vulnerability is not something to avoid. Instead, it is a constant reminder of the need to create safety for humans. Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation and creativity. Like if you're an artist and you don't let your emotions bleed on the canvas, you do not let it all out, how is it ever going to be creative or extraordinary or different, and how are you ever going to create the masterpiece unless you're vulnerable? We need to understand that it is okay not to be okay. Even the sky knows it's okay to cry. But you see, after the rain appears this beautiful magical rainbow, which means there's always light at the end of the tunnel. If you won't cry wholeheartedly, how will you ever be able to laugh wholeheartedly? So, I did a small survey in which I asked one simple question. Name 3 things or people you love the most. So, most of the answers that I got were my friends, my family, food, Netflix, my dog. Some even wrote poop, some wrote pineapple on pizza, but only 10% of the people mentioned me, myself. What I want to convey and ask is, how long will it take for you to prioritize yourself, to mention your name when you asked about things or people you love the most? Contrary to what many believe, not self-indulgent. It is neither egotism nor narcissism. What I used to believe was that emotional, spiritual, and mental growth will happen automatically. But it actually has to be intentional. Like, the more time you spend with a close friend of yours, the better you learn about them, the closer you get to them. It is exactly the same with yourself. The more time you spend with yourself, the more time you give yourself to absorb all of the energy, the closer you get to yourself. It might be hard at first, but it is a beautiful feeling. So now whenever someone asks me, "Hey Synah, what's up?" I say, my self-esteem. See, I told you, it is a divine feeling. So now, to conclude my talk in 3 basic and simple points, I'd like to express it using a form of expression, a form of self-love that I adore a lot. Dance.
First, live with heart and courage. Second, risk it. Ask yourself a question. What if I show my vulnerability? Third, embrace your vulnerability and seek self-love. Welcome them with open arms and give yourself a tight hug.
I really hope that you all felt like getting up and dancing after seeing this. And if you ever feel that you don't have someone to cling on to like a monkey, cling on to yourself. Thank you.